Hello, my name is Eric Humphrey, and in this video I'm going to be talking about James O'Barr's artwork, specifically the first 4 issues of the comic book The Crow. Now, for those of you that have read the comic book The Crow, you will most likely recognize these images. I pulled them out of this comic book, this reprint of the comic book done several years ago. I think it was 2008 or so. No. This first image I'm going to show you was the very first, or the cover, or image that appeared on the very first issue of the comic book The Crow. I want you to look at it in detail. Notice that it's a portrait and it looks very almost realistic, that it's not someone trying to do a cartoonish face, but someone trying to draw a face of someone they met. This would be the second issue. It's not a portrait, but the face looks more cartoonish. This was the third issue, also not a portrait. The face looks cartoonish. On the fourth cover appeared this image, also looks cartoonish. And these other images that appeared on the back of these. But why is this one so different? Why does it look like he did a watercolor of somebody's face? Because it's my face. It's a watercolor he did of me. He informed me of this on November 1st, 1988, when he called my house around 10:20 in the morning and woke me up and pissed me off. Told him not to call me till afternoon. Now I'm also going to show you the original covers. They're not all going to be the same size. And then I'm going to show you a comparison image of the very first cover of The Crow and my face. Photographs of me from 1988 and or one from 1987. Here's the first issue. Here's the second issue. Here's the third issue. And the fourth. Now here's an image of the first issue in comparison with my face. Please notice that the lips, the distance between the nose and the lips is the same. If you can see the color of my eyes, you'll notice it's the same. The jawline and even the way my hair lays is exactly the same. Plus, if you look at the collar of the image that James O'Barr painted and the collar of my leather jacket, you'll notice they are the same, and that's not a coincidence. Now, James O'Barr claimed that he started doing this comic book back in 1981. The whole reason he made that claim is that he knows for a fact that I started dressing up that way every Halloween from 1981 until 1989. After I joined the service and after meeting O'Barr and realizing I was crazy, I quit dressing that way and doing the things I did on Halloween. The wonderful thing about this is that O'Barr has no artwork done on paper from 1981. And if he did start doing the drawings in 1981, they can be on paper from 79, 78, depending on the paper he drew on. But forensics. Forensics can tell you how long ink has been on a paper and possibly some paint. But the wonderful thing about paper is you can test it to see exactly when and where it was made, along with certain inks. The testing of any artwork O'Barr claims to have done between 1981 and let's stop at 1987. Although we met on October 31st, 1988, we'll stop in 87. but you will not be able to find any artwork. If you buy any of his artwork and had the paper tested or any of it tested, it's going to show that it's at least on paper from 1987, 1988. There is nothing he has that is on paper, I would say, from 1981 all the way up to 1986. It's just not there. He doesn't have the evidence to back up his claim. And the whole reason he says 1981 is because he's trying to cover up the fact that I gave him the idea for the comic book, which was all free. I was doing it just to help him because I felt sorry for him and the loss of his four friends that died on October the 28th, that Friday. I even told him after we met, he could call me if he wanted any more details on me. I'd help him work out the comic book. Guy was very rude. He wouldn't give me time to deal with the emotions I have over Tammy's death. And I got pissed with the guy, and I told him to quit calling my fucking house. It got to that point. He wouldn't wait for me to call him. He wouldn't leave me alone. So we had a falling out. And he had changed his mind when he finally got the whole story on what I was doing every Halloween. He wanted to do a true story about a Halloween vigilante, a guy who only came out on Halloween and never went out to kill anybody. Anybody who was harming, trying to mug someone beating up on, bullying them, I attacked them. I needed to get that desire for revenge and justice out some way, and that was the whole thing. I lost my mind for several years. This is a very personal issue. It touches me very deeply. Tammy left a hole in my heart that has never healed, and I'm afraid it never will. She was somebody very extraordinary here and here. She wasn't all that much to look at, but she had a beauty that very seldom you come across in other human beings. So this is a personal issue. This isn't just some goddamn little fucking comic book. I never wanted to create some comic book characters. I never even drew comic book characters. I had no interest. That little drawing you see up there on the wall, it's artwork of mine that used to hang in the store. I do perceptual artwork. I don't do comic book artwork. Now, forensics can prove that what I have just shared with you is the truth. You can test James Obar's artwork, and it'll show that he's lying. I was a mime with Tammy Lynn Grimes and her sisters, Tina and Tracy, Steve Cash, Aaron Mahone, Don Lightcap, her father who ran the 4-H group, who was a mime himself, Mr. Lightcap, my brother David, and me. On January 11th, 1982, Tammy was shot in the throat and murdered by Lawrence Hahn. After she died, I just went nuts. And on Halloween, I went over to Lawrence Hahn's house to murder him and his family and 4 bullies in my neighborhood, but they moved away. So I just ended up falling into going out and accosting people on Halloween that were harming others for their own pleasure or joy. And I liked it. But I didn't know I was doing this every Halloween until I met James Obar, and he called me the next day on November 1st, 1988. Meeting him made me face my own insanity. If you don't believe me and you're a fan of the comic book The Crow, or if you're a news reporter, try to get hold of some of this artwork. I found nothing of his from 1981 all the way up to 1988. No artwork whatsoever dated. So ask the man when you meet him. Talk to him, bring this up. Ask him if he can provide you with some artwork from 81 that he could test to make sure it's done on paper from 1981. His eyes will get big and he'll tell you no. This man is a liar and a thief. He had no right to sell that comic book to the movie industry. There should have never been a movie. I made that clear when we got off the phone back in 1988 when we were still talking. That was the last thing I told him. You got rights to a comic book, but no movie. It'll never be a movie. I don't want no damn movie. I just want back what is mine. I want people to know who Tammy was and where this shit really fucking came from. Because it didn't come from this heartless bastard, and that's what he is. Um, and just to let you know this, Shelly, Shelly's a real person that died. And in my next video, I'll be talking about Shelly and the four other individuals and why I think Obar never talks about that, why he's covering it up. Because he's guilty of something, which he might be able to, which he could possibly be prosecuted and go to jail for. So please watch my next video on Michelle Lingbrow. Thank you for your time. I hope you consider what I have just told you. But the best way to prove my case is for you to prove it to yourself, or if you know someone who's a news reporter and wants a real good true story, please have them contact me. Thank you for your time.